Welcome back to the check-in. My name is Jarrett, and I am joined once again by Tatum Cave. Tatum, how you doing?
I am doing good. Happy to be here. Happy to be hashing away.
Happy to be hashing away. Today, let's talk about something that's been pretty top of mind for you, and it looks like other people in the industry these days: payout structures or payout schemes. This is really your wheelhouse, so please take it away. What should we be thinking about right now in Bitcoin mining when it comes to payout structures and payout schemes?
Yeah, so the best way to understand payout structures is to kind of think about how many miners are running in the world and how many blocks are being found, which it's easier to find that number rather than how many miners are out there. So that means that if you plug in a miner, even if it's even if it's top of the line S21 Pro, it's probably not going to find a block because it's competing with everyone else. And so that's where pool mining came in. And pool mining is basically a bunch of machines working together and splitting the rewards if a machine in that group finds a block. Um, it There are different ways that pools pay out though, and there's a lot of different factors of what that those structures do, and why people would pick them one over the other. And it's largely moved to the most common one, which is FPPS, which stands for full pay per share. And that basically means that you're going to get a relatively consistent payout for the percentage of hash rate you donate to the pool. Basically, if you think about it, you're owning a miner, and all of the hash rate that comes out of that, you're putting that up for rent. And pools with the FPPS structure will say, hey, I'll pay you this much money if you let us borrow that and use it to hash to our pool. The problem with FPPS is that it, I don't know how the best way to frame this. Let me frame it by explaining what the what used to be common PPLNS, which is pay per last in shares. And that means that you only get paid out if the pool that you're hashing to finds a block, and then you get that percentage of what you were donating at the time that that block was hit, to as a payout. So for instance, a while back, Brain's pool was PPLNS, and so you would have days where they would not find a block, but then you would have other days where they would find 10 blocks, which was really good for them. And you would get nothing one day and then 10 blocks worth of whatever you're donating to the next day. And that's what I think mining should be and how it should work. It's the most fair thing. And that's what Ocean does. They have a PPLNS amended structure. They call it tides. I think it's last 8 block smoothing or something. I can't remember exactly how they structure it, but you only get paid if you hit a block with Ocean as well. And the problem with FPPS is the difference between FPPS and PPLNS lies mainly in one thing, amongst others, but the biggest thing, transaction fees. Think about that. If you hit an empty block on a PPLNS pool, you're going to split 3.125 Bitcoin with everyone who was hashing to that pool. If you hit a block that had an insane amount of inscriptions or something, and the total was 20 Bitcoin, like the right after the halving, then you're going to be splitting 20 Bitcoin amongst that same group in a PPLNS structure. FPPS, it's even. You're still getting that relatively static payout that you kind of agreed on, so to speak, rather than those fees being included as that block got hit whenever it was mined. That there will be differences over the course of time as the fee market adjusts and steadies out, but with FPPS as it is, you can kind of not pay attention to transaction fees. That doesn't mean much, if anything, to you as a miner.
Of all the pools right now, and maybe you want to hit on just the most popular pools, can you break down what their payout structure is?
Yeah, I think I will say I'm not entirely certain on a lot of the pools, but I want to say that the most common one that saturates most, if not all, of the major pools is FPPS. And they do that because it's easier. From what I've seen, there are other people that have different opinions and different speculation on this, but I believe the FPPS is used mainly by the big boys because it's easier for them to pay out. And it also on the pool side, it's easier for them to manage. On the minor side, it's more attractive to look at a consistent growth and profit that you're bringing in rather than I could make 0 Bitcoin or I could make 30 Bitcoin. It's not a coin flip of whether or not you're going to get paid today or not. But it opens up the possibility to so many other things that I can't remember exactly what it's called, but Adam O told me about this unique attack that you can do only on FPPS pools where you're donating an extreme amount of hash and say your machine hits a block, you could withhold giving that block to the pool and just basically screwing everyone else, just doing it out of spite. From what I understood, it seemed like there was little financial gain from that attack. It's more of kind of like a spite thing. But the fact that you can do that and alter a pool that big just because of the payout structure, I think is a pretty big flaw.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question. Can you manipulate it to a way where, you're saying in a pool, just as an example, there's 1,000 miners and I've got 10 miners, but one of my miners hits a block. Can you just be like, nope, I'm taking my ball and going home? And it sounds like you can. The other thing I wanted to ask about these payout structures, well, the way I think about it when you were describing is one's an employee, right? And the other one's the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur works in a contract, has peaks and valleys. The employee gets a paycheck every week for basically the hash that's online. The other one waits around for, like you said, an ordinal moment, a runes moment.
The other one is working on commission.
The other one's working on, sure, it could be working on commission. Yeah, exactly. It's a peak and valley situation. I finally sold the boat, therefore they're going to pay me. So yeah, okay. For your miners, and for you, what is the pools that you've chosen, and were you choosing pools because of the payout structure?
I mined to Ocean for a variety of reasons, and none of them have anything to do with inscriptions or ordinals. I want to just put that out there. One of the attractive features of it was the payout structure that was, like I said, based off of PPLNS, but it is a little amended uniquely, which not like honestly, the way that the mechanic described it, if anything, it made it better for the minor side of things as far as payouts go. But that's part of the reason. It's honestly one of the main reasons. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I mean it's not a consistent payout. I used to mine to Brains before they were FPPS or whatever they are now. I don't know if it's exclusively FPPS or if there's like amended. It's the same type of structure, but I did do that Brains before that because that was like I said, that was what I considered pure mining. Like I'm getting my share of what I contributed as that block was mine, not leasing it out on a consistent level. And another thing about that is that I can't remember what company it was. I want to say it might have been Riot, but a couple of years ago, it was a big pubco that was mining to Brains, and they announced that they were switching for revenue reasons. And that goes back to my point of it's easier to mine to an FPPS pool if you're in the profit business, as publicly traded miners are. But whenever they did that, Brains pool hash rate almost halved. And the block that we hit the next day, you could see it in the chart on their dashboard. The block we mined the next day was almost exactly double what the block we mined the previous day was, because it took, it's going to statistically take twice as long if the pool hash rate halves, but the rewards are going to be double. So that's the beauty of mining. I mean, that it's peaks and valleys, like you said.
Yeah, I love that. And then looking at 2025, just because we're recording this in January, how do you think this is going to evolve as we move, through 2025? Is there Is it like, I feel like Red Rover, is everyone going to run to one side of the gym or the other side of the gym based on things? And I guess part of this, and you called out specifically, you didn't do this because of ordinals or runes, but is there going to be another ordinal or rune moment, which would make then the non FFPS, I think I got that right. These are a lot of acronyms. FPPS, thank you. Is there a moment where then that wouldn't be as attractive because you're like, dude, in your example, instead of just getting the block reward, you get the block reward and the fees?
Yeah, the topic isn't as hot as I think it needs to be for there to be a massive movement, but I have seen a lot of people start talking about payouts, and you also have to start looking into out-of-band transactions that private pools will do, like the today marathon mined that Trump image that was visible on the mempool viewer. That was an out-of-band transaction. But in 2025, I don't think that there's going to be a mass exodus of FPPS pools. I'm kind of getting put in the car ahead in front of the horse. I think that there will be. The end result, I think, is going to be a mass exodus from FPPS pools or a mass restructuring of payout structures for those pools. But I don't know what that catalyst is going to be. I also think that a more likely scenario is going to be these pools that are specifically FPPS are going to give an option of PPLNS. I don't know how that's going to look on the financing side of things, but I know that the pools are making money somehow or another, so that may end up being allocated to support a PPLNS option. But I think that the data is going to just start speaking for itself, and I think that we won't see too much of a big adjustment in payout structures until we start seeing that super consistently competitive fee market like we saw immediately after the halving. Because if what happened right after the halving happened for a month, granted, I think the high fees is what I'm talking about. I think it lasted less than a week maybe before it kind of started settling down, relatively speaking. But if that happened for a full month, Ocean would be the largest pool there is right now, because everyone would be like, yeah, I want a piece of that 20 Bitcoin block that was just mined, especially after the halving just happened. Like, that's ridiculous to say that there were over 17 Bitcoin in transaction fees. That was consistently happening for block after block after block. But like I said, we need to be in that really high fee market. And it looks like we're settling down to, we're still single digits. Yeah, dude, two sats per V-byte, low, medium, and high priority right now. So right now, people like FPPS. I don't, because I think it's a little scammy. But eventually, people will flock to. The children yearn for the PPLNS.
Oh my God, you've heard it first. I think one of the things, especially for the pubcos, they say predictability is like what you need to get profit, and so that makes sense.
And Bitcoin mining is the most unpredictable thing, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to minimize my unpredictability by picking an FPPS pool. It's
clearly what people are trying to do. They're trying to de-risk. That's a nice corporate word. So Tatum, thank you for hopping on today and joining me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, listen to a podcast platform, please subscribe. Make sure you're following us at Compass Mining on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Tatum, thank you once again for joining the check-in.
Absolutely.